Every day, a truth is revealed.
Pull it back and feel the pressure build.
The farther it pulls back, the stronger the release.
This isn't punishment. It's positioning.
You're not forgotten, you're being prepared.
Because you're not being held back, you're being launched.
Have you ever stopped to think about why a slingshot needs to be pulled back before launching the stone? Why does the archer pull the arrow back before hitting the target? Why does the athlete need to step back before jumping over the bar? There's something deeply spiritual happening when God pulls you back, and most people don't understand this. They think they're being punished, abandoned, or forgotten. They look around and see others advancing, while they seem to be standing still or even moving backward. But the truth is much more powerful than you imagine, and today you'll discover the secret that few know about God's divine process of preparation. David knew this when he wrote in Psalm 37:23, "The steps of a good man are ordered by the Lord, and he delights in his way." Ordered doesn't mean we always move forward. Sometimes being ordered by God means being pulled back, repositioned, realigned. Because God sees what you don't see. He knows the target you haven't even discovered yet. He knows that where you want to go now might not be the best destination for you. That's why he pulls you back, not to stop you, but to redirect you to something infinitely better. Imagine for a moment that you're driving and the GPS says, "Make a U-turn at the next opportunity." You don't question the GPS, you obey, because you trust that it knows the way better than you do. But when God does this in our lives, we resist, we question, we fight. We don't understand that God is the divine GPS who sees the entire route, all the paths, all the obstacles ahead that you can't see. When God pulls you back, He's not moving you away from your blessing. He's preparing you for a launch that will change everything. Think about it. When you're being pulled back, you're accumulating strength, energy, potential. You're being loaded with divine purpose. Each day of waiting, each moment of silence, each situation that seems like a setback is actually God adjusting the aim so you hit exactly where you need to go. And it's not just any place, it's the perfect place He prepared specifically for you. But here's what amazes me most. Most people fight against this process. They want to run away, force doors open, push situations. They don't understand that there are moments in life when resistance is necessary. There are moments when you need to stay quiet, wait. Allow God to do the internal work that only He can do. Because when God pulls you back, He's not just preparing your circumstances, He's preparing you. He's working on your character, your faith, your ability to handle what's coming. Look at Joseph, sold as a slave at 17, unjustly thrown in prison, forgotten by those he helped. Each situation seemed like a step backward. In human eyes, Joseph was losing everything: family, freedom, dignity. But God was positioning Joseph to save entire nations. Every injustice Joseph suffered was actually a qualification for the throne that awaited him. In Potiphar's house, Joseph learned administration. In prison, he learned to deal with difficult people and impossible situations. Every place where Joseph was pulled back was actually a preparation school for the palace. God was pulling Joseph back, not to destroy him, but to give him the perspective, wisdom, and character necessary to govern Egypt. When Joseph finally reached the throne, he had exactly what he needed to save not only Egypt, but also his own family, and fulfill the promises God had made to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. If Joseph had gone straight to the throne at 17, he wouldn't have had the maturity necessary to handle such responsibility. Think about Moses. 40 years in the palace learning to be a prince, 40 years in the desert learning to be a shepherd, and only then God called him to liberate Israel. 80 years of preparation for 40 years of ministry. God pulled Moses back to the desert to teach him humility, patience, and divine dependence. In the palace, Moses trusted in his own strength. In the desert, he learned to trust in God's strength. And it was this difference that made him the great liberator of Israel. You know what's the difference between those who understand this process and those who don't? Trust. Those who trust know that being pulled back isn't a sign of failure, it's a sign of preparation. Those who trust understand that God never wastes a pain, never loses a tear, never ignores a prayer. He's always working, always preparing, always positioning. Even when you can't see it, even when it seems like nothing is happening, God is orchestrating situations, preparing people, opening doors, and closing others. And when the time comes for the launch, you'll understand why everything happened that way. You'll look back and see that every no you received protected you from something smaller. Every door that closed redirected you to something greater. Every time you were pulled back, you were actually being prepared for a thrust that will take you further than you ever imagined. You'll realize that God wasn't delaying your blessing, He was increasing your blessing. Think about David, anointed king at 15, but only took the throne at 30. 15 years being persecuted by Saul, living in caves, fleeing, hiding. 15 years being pulled back. But in those 15 years, David learned warfare, formed his army, gained the people's trust, developed his faith, and wrote most of the Psalms. When he finally became king, he had everything he needed to establish a kingdom that would last generations. But there's one thing you need to do while being pulled back: remain flexible. Because if you harden, if you resist, if you become rigid, you'll break. God can't use something broken for the launch He planned. He needs someone who trusts the process, who stays flexible, who is willing to be shaped during the wait. Like the potter who needs to knead the clay before shaping it, God sometimes needs to knead our lives before giving us the final form. Flexibility also means being open to God changing your plans. Maybe you're being pulled back because God has something completely different in mind. Maybe the dream you have is too small for what God wants to do through you. Maybe He's preparing you for something you never imagined, something that will exceed all your expectations. Look at Peter, simple fisherman who thought his future was on the Sea of Galilee. But Jesus pulled him back, took him out of his comfort zone, led him down paths he never imagined. Peter resisted, questioned, even denied Jesus. But when the time came, Peter was ready to be the rock upon which Jesus would build His church. If Peter had just kept fishing, he would have missed the greater purpose God had for his life. The truth is, you're not late. You didn't miss your opportunity. You're not being forgotten. You're being prepared for something that will surprise even yourself. God is adjusting the aim, calibrating the force, preparing the perfect moment to launch you straight into the center of His will. And when that moment comes, you'll move with such speed and precision that it will impress even you. But while you're being pulled back, there are specific things you need to do. First, use this time to draw closer to God, pray more, read the Word more, cultivate intimacy with Him, because when the time comes for launch, you'll need all the spiritual strength you can have. Second, develop your skills. Study, learn, practice. God is preparing you for something specific, and you need to be qualified when the opportunity comes. Third, keep your faith alive. Don't let waiting kill your expectation. Keep dreaming, keep believing, keep hoping, because faith is the fuel that will power your launch. Fourth, forgive. Forgive those who hurt you. Forgive those who disappointed you. Forgive even yourself. Because resentment and bitterness will hinder your trajectory. You need to be free to fly when God releases you. Fifth, help others while you wait. Be a channel of blessing in someone's life, because when you bless others, you're planting seeds that will bear fruit in your own life. Sixth, stay grateful. Be thankful for what you have, for what you've learned, for what you've become during this process. Gratitude is the key that opens heaven's doors. Seventh, prepare for success. Because when God launches you, you'll need to be ready to handle the radical change that will happen in your life. Many people pray for change, but when it comes, they don't know how to handle it. Use this waiting time to prepare mentally, emotionally, and spiritually for the blessing that's coming. Remember, every great launch begins with a pullback. Every great leap begins with preparation. Every great flight begins with a run in the opposite direction. You're not being left behind, you're being prepared to lead. You're not being forgotten, you're being positioned. You're not wasting time, you're gaining experience. So next time you feel yourself being pulled back, remember, you're not going backward, you're being reloaded. You're not losing ground, you're gaining momentum. You're not being punished, You're being positioned for a launch that will change your life and the lives of everyone around you. God is preparing something so great that it will compensate for all the waiting time. Keep your faith, keep your expectation, keep your heart open, because what's coming will surpass everything you've ever experienced. Now it's your turn to rise. Carry this truth with you and share it with someone who needs to hear this, because what transforms your life can be the seed of transformation for another.